Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a paper that could completely change the game for AI. It's all about getting those brilliant AI insights without needing a supercomputer for every single question. The paper's called Deep Think with Confidence, and trust me, it's a good one.
All right, let's jump right into the big problem that everyone in AI is facing. These large language models are getting ridiculously good at complex thinking and reasoning. But, and it's a huge but, all that power comes with a massive, and I mean massive, price tag in terms of computation, which means time and, of course, money.
And this chart really just lays it all out there, doesn't it? It shows you that cost difference in the starkest way possible. On one side, you have a standard method burning through 323 million tokens to solve a problem set, and on the other, the new method from this paper, DeepConf, which does the exact same job with just 49 million. That is not just a little improvement, that is a whole different ballgame. So, how on earth did they pull this off? Well, instead of the usual approach of just making the AI bigger and bigger, they figured out a way to make it smarter about its own thinking process. The whole idea really boils down to a simple question. What if we could tap into the model's own gut feeling about whether it's on the right track? And that brings us to the absolute key concept of this whole paper, model internal confidence. You see, every single time an AI generates the next word, it's not just picking one. It's looking at a whole bunch of possibilities. When it's really sure about the next word, its choice is sharp and clear. When it's uncertain, well, it's kind of guessing. That signal of certainty, that's the key. Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but how do we actually see this confidence? How do we prove it's actually useful? This is where the paper gets super visual and honestly pretty exciting. Now, this chart, which is pulled right from Figure 2 in the paper, it brilliantly illustrates the core discovery. The researchers looked at thousands of different reasoning paths the AI took, and they found this incredibly clear pattern. As you can see right here, the correct lines of reasoning consistently show a much higher average confidence than the incorrect ones. It turns out the AI's own self-certainty is a fantastic signal for quality. But, there's a catch. If you just take a simple average of confidence over a long, complex thought, you could miss something. A single disastrous mistake can get completely washed out by all the other steps where the AI was super confident. So to really make this work, they had to dig a little deeper. And this is exactly how they did it. They came up with 3 really clever new ways to measure this stuff, which are all visualized in Figure 3 of the paper. First, there's group confidence, which looks at smaller chunks of the reasoning. Then they created bottom 10% confidence, which is genius. It specifically hunts for those moments of greatest doubt. And finally, tail confidence, which just checks to see if the AI finishes its thought process on a strong, confident note. So now that we have these new tools for measuring confidence, let's see how they put them to work. This really builds into 2 incredibly powerful methods. The first is called offline thinking, and it helps after the AI has already done its thinking. The second, online thinking, is where things get really wild. It jumps in while the AI is still mid-thought. Let's start with offline thinking. So normally, if you ask an AI for, say, 100 different ways to solve a problem, you treat each of those 100 votes as equal. But with confidence-weighted voting, it's totally different. The reasoning paths that the AI was most confident about, well, their votes count for a whole lot more. It's just like listening to the smartest person in the room a little more closely. But honestly, the real revolution here is online thinking. I mean, why on earth would you waste all that time and energy letting an AI finish a line of reasoning that you can tell is going nowhere? What if you could just spot that uncertainty early on and pull the plug? This slide walks you through that whole process, and it's laid out perfectly in Figure 4 of the paper. First, there's a quick warm-up, where it sets a minimum confidence level. Then, as it starts a new thought, it watches the confidence in real time. And here's the magic. If that confidence ever dips below the line, it just stops. It cuts that bad idea off and immediately starts a new, more promising one. This is where those insane efficiency gains come from. So, the big question, right? Does all this cool theory actually work in the real world? Well, the results are, to be honest, absolutely stunning. First off, they tested this on a brutally difficult math competition benchmark, and the DeepConf method achieved, well, look at that, 99.9% accuracy. That is essentially perfect on a test that is designed to stump some of the brightest human minds. Wow. And here is the real kicker. It got that near perfect score while using almost
85% less computation. Let that sink in. It got better results for a tiny, tiny fraction of the cost. That's the dream.
And just to prove this wasn't some lucky fluke with one model, check this out. The savings are massive across a whole range of different top-tier AIs. We're talking token reductions from over 50% all the way up to that 85% mark. This technique really works, and it works everywhere.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up. What is the big critical takeaway from all of this incredible research? Really, what this all boils down to is pretty simple. DeepConf is a powerful method that makes AI reasoning both better and cheaper. And maybe the best part, it works on existing models right out of the box. No need for expensive, time-consuming retraining. You get huge accuracy boosts while slashing your costs. This is a massive step forward in making advanced AI practical for everyone.
And there you have it. In just the last few minutes, you've totally decoded the core ideas, the visual proof, and the incredible results of a research paper that's pushing the whole field forward. You didn't just skim the surface. You really get the how and the why. So if you enjoy getting this kind of clear, visual breakdown, if you want to keep turning these complex, cutting-edge ideas into your own personal knowledge, well, I think you're going to love what we're building here. Look, the future belongs to the people who understand what's happening right now. And our mission here at VibeDoc is to turn this complex knowledge into your intellectual toolkit, to give you that edge. So do yourself a favor. Be one of the people who gets it. Click that subscribe button right now and never miss another key insight. Thanks for watching.